Hello everyone and welcome to another lockdown interview. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Trek Segafredo pro Niklas Eg. This is Niklas's third year with Trek Segafredo and he began his career with the Danish continental team, Team Trefor. In 2017, Niklas Eg hit headlines as he put in a supreme performance in the 2017 Tour de l'Avenir to finish third overall in a very tough year that included the winner, Egan Bernal. Niklas is definitely a great climber in the making. He has already ridden the Giro d'Italia and the Vuelta a España, and he's achieved some notable top 5 GC results already in the Tour of Utah and the Tour of Croatia. And with Niklas having teammates such as Vincenzo Nibali, Bauke Mollema and Richie Porte to learn from, we can only see Niklas getting even better. Niklas has a bright future ahead riding for Trek Segafredo, so without further ado, here is the interview with Niklas Eg. Good morning, Niklas. How are you and where are you at the moment?
Good morning. I'm good, thanks. Hope you're good as well. I'm currently in Girona in my apartment, back into training and the daily routine.
So how has lockdown, the whole ordeal been affecting you? And I've got a specific question for that as well.
Yeah, so obviously it was a long time not knowing what was going on. And in the beginning I was pretty stressed about it, but then I started to relax and just take advantage of the time that we had to spend with family and just chill out a bit.
Did you use Swift at all, or how did you kind of keep yourself fit in those?
Yeah, so when lockdown started here in Spain, we went back to Denmark because we were still allowed to ride outside. But we had a few events on virtual racing, and but mainly I was riding on the road. I gotta admit, my talent for Swift is not that big, so I just got my ass kicked whenever I tried to race there.
Did you like the way that you could engage with fans, that to kind of build up your own, fan base on the virtual Swift?
Actually, I really enjoyed. We had some social rides with the team that I think was great, where we just were riding along easy and was answering questions from the participants, and I think that was a great way to interact with all the fans out there.
With the coronavirus specifically, you were actually at the UAE tour, which was kind of the first race where the coronavirus and cycling kind of came in collision. How was that race for you?
Yeah, so it really ran from 0 to 100 really fast, and I was just really happy when we finally were let out of the hotel. And actually I thought that we kind of escaped the coronavirus, but obviously it cashed the whole Europe afterwards. So yeah, it was a really special experience, and it was a lot of emotions because one moment you were really afraid that you were going to be locked down in the hotel for 2 weeks, but in the end it turned out well, so I was really happy about that.
It must have been a really weird experience, just being in a hotel in the middle of the Middle East and not really knowing what was going on.
Yeah, it was super special, and it was a lot of talking with the teammates and talking through different scenarios and trying to make fun about it. But in the end, it wasn't really that funny, and the relief when we sat on the bus on the way to the airport was really big.
What was that race like for you? Because you got, what was it, top 15?
Yeah, the race for me was pretty good, and the first hilltop finish and the Abella feed went quite well for me. But in general, it's just a weird race because you cruise along at 130 watts every day, and then you go full gas for the last half hour.
It was pretty incredible to see Adam Yates, the speed he was going.
Yeah, for sure. He did his training over the winter. There's no doubt about that.
What's it? You race in so many different countries. Like, did the climate affect you at all, or living in Girona, does that help you racing in the Middle East?
I think the guys that do Australia is the most prepared for racing in the Middle East, specifically this race in UAE, because they have already been in the heat for maybe a month. So the last few years I didn't do Australia, and I definitely felt that it was harder coming to UAE with the heat. But this year it was okay, and but also I tried to do some sauna sessions before just to get used to it. So I think that was helpful.
That's quite funny because being from Denmark, we're not really used to the heat. Well, just in general, when you started racing in heat, that must have been a weird experience.
Yeah, for sure. The first time I did two down under, it was also the only time so far. I was coming straight from Denmark and racing, training in -3-4 degrees and straight into 40 degrees, and that was a huge shock for the system. I didn't do well at all in down under that year.
And so this year you were also part of another stage race where, well, you got a good result as well. But where Nairo Quintana kind of unleashed his Mont Ventoux record, what was that race like for you?
Provence is a really hard race. It's a lot of motivated French teams, and of course Quintana he was flying. I specifically remember the stage where we finished halfway up Mont Ventoux, where I came across the finish line and saw how much time Quintana he had taken out of me just in 9 kilometers, and I was pretty surprised how fast he went because I think I was going quite well. But yeah, he was definitely flying.
What's it like when you're up against those guys? Do you kind of you don't really see that in the climbs because the camera just moves away, but are you like, do you regroup or do you kind of just ride to your own pace, or how does it work after that?
I guess it's a bit different from rider to rider, but I'm more of a pacing strategy guy, and I try to make sure that I can maintain the same pace for the whole climb. So I probably normally get dropped a little bit before I explode, and then I catch some guys back. And that's also what happened on this stage, where I was dropped a little bit early, and then I catch a lot of guys back.
So you're riding with Trek Segafredo, and this is your 3rd year with them. Have you been able to train with Vincenzo Nibali, who's come to the team?
Yeah, so we always have the training camp in Sicily and Mallorca in the winter, and he was there as well. And it's super funny to ride with a big champion like Vincenzo, and also to see how he reacts in training. And yeah, he's a good guy, and he likes to have fun in training as well, making attacks and just like kind of like maintaining the fun in training as well.
What's it been like having the world champion on the team with Mads Pedersen?
Yeah, obviously it's a really big thing having the world champion in the team, but also when it's Mads, he's staying, and one of my friends as well. So I'm super happy for him, and he deserved it a lot. And I think also for the team it's really important because it's a lot of publicity, and Mads he will be ready when the season restarts. So I think he will do the rainbow jersey on.
So riding for Trek Segafredo, does that mean you get a lifetime supply of free coffee?
Oh, obviously we have at the races all the coffee we need. So I could probably ask for some, but it's just having it all sent with mail and stuff. It's probably more complicated.
So going back to the start of your career, you started with Team Trefor back in Denmark. That kind of became virtual cycling. What was that like racing on the continental scene in the beginning, coming from a junior to going into a continental setup?
It's a little bit different. The racing is a lot more. It's hard in another way because it's always attacking. There's not a lot of control in the races. But you'll also definitely see now over the last few years that the setup in the teams that I've been in had been bigger and bigger. But already back when it was Team Trefor, it was really well organized, and it became even better when Bjarne Riis he entered the team with virtual cycling as well. So I've been quite lucky to be in really good continental teams, and I'm grateful for that chance.
So Bjarne Riis coming to the team. Bjarne is actually you and Bjarne come from the same place in Denmark, Herning. What kind of influence has he had on your career, and what was it like getting Bjarne to come to the team? Because we hear so much that Bjarne has like this massive effect on riders.
Yeah, Bjarne, he's got a lot of good ideas, and in training camp he goes on the bike with us and look at us to see how the position is, and he's always up for advices and stuff like this. So he's been a really good team manager to give out of his experience, and I think you can learn a lot from Bjarne, and I also try to learn as much during the years that I was with him.
That year you also did the Tour de l'Avenir for the first time. What was that experience like going there?
Yeah, it was in 2016. I did the 211 the first time, and I was still trying to build up some endurance. So I was doing quite well when we only had to climb once. But if we had to do it twice or 3 times, I was just done, and I didn't have the endurance to back it up throughout the whole stage, and definitely not for 8 days in a row.
You came 10th in the elite men's national championships in Denmark, which is becoming an ever more competitive title to get. What was that day like for you? Because you were the second group on the road.
Yeah, it was kind of strange because I wasn't supposed to be one of the protected riders in the bunch, but suddenly there was a break going, and we had no one, and I just managed to jump across as the last guy. And so in the end, I was just lucky just to be in the final. But obviously against those other guys, we didn't really have a big chance in the sprint, and they would go so fast that it was impossible to get away. So after the race, I was just happy about my performance and being in top 10. So yeah, it wasn't for the team the best day or result, but for me it was pretty good.
What's it like racing at nationals when you're on a continental team against World Tour pros, and is it also special that every single rider in the peloton is Danish?
Yeah, for the continentals it's a pretty good race because you have the whole team there, so you got all the support you need. Everything is organized, and also in the race with tactics, because you have more riders, and the World Tour riders, they only have themselves or maybe one or two teammates, so the scenario is a little bit different. And I wouldn't be surprised also this year if a continental rider wins, because the continental teams, they are really strong now, and the level in Denmark is just crazy high. So yeah, the nationals is a super hard race, definitely.
You also did the first PostNord Denmark run. Well, I think it was Post Denmark. What was that like?
It was a big experience, and it was really funny also because it started in my hometown in Herning. So the first stage we had all the local riders right in front of the bunch during the neutral. So it was a really nice experience, but also the whole experience of racing across Denmark was nice, just to see how supportive the nation is to the sport. So it was a really big experience, and I would definitely like to race Tour of Denmark once again in the future.
So in 2017, you had a string of really good results in I can't pronounce that race, the Giro Ciclismo del Mont Blanc. You came 4th overall. What was that race like? There was quite a number of big riders now in that race.
Yeah, that's probably one of the hardest climbing races I've ever done. It was just climbing every day with a hilltop finish. Actually, the first stage on the first climbing stage, I smashed my front wheel just at the bottom of the first climb, and had to start the climb a minute down on the maybe 30 seconds down on the bunch, so I didn't really contest for the final, so I already lost a bit of time there. But the race is super hard, and obviously a lot of the strong Italians are there, and the Australians are there, and a lot of strong guys that do well there will turn pro later on. So I was pretty satisfied about that result.
So the other result, well, the big result that year was the Tour de l'Avenir. What was that like for you? How did it feel? How were you feeling going into the race? And
going into the race, I was super insecure because I also had the pressure, because I knew I had to perform, because I was supposed to lead the team, and I knew that it was not only the result in the race, there was also whether what I was going to do the year after, because I knew if I did it well, I had the chance to turn pro. So it was I was super focused and a little bit surprised when the racing started that I was with the top guys. I probably went into the race thinking top 10 would be really nice, but when I felt super good in the race, we tried everything to get on the podium.
So you had two top threes and a top 10, which was 7, 8, and 9. What were those stages like, and what was it like racing Egan Bernal?
Yeah, so 211 is a super hard race, and definitely in the last part of the race there was a lot of climbing to do. And racing against Egan is looking back now was pretty cool, because he's been going really well since then. to say at least. But yeah, back then he was also really strong.
Was it hard to be against the Colombian team because they had Daniel Martinez as well, so it was quite a strong team?
They had a really good team, yes, and they were also happy to take control of the race and do their share of work. So you already felt back then how strong they were.
Were you just clinging on and then letting them do all the work, or were Denmark taking some of the responsibility?
Yeah, I think we were doing quite well. We also had the Giro with Kasper Aspreen for the first few days, and he won the first stage. So it was a really nice tour for us, and we also had some of the other guys, Niklas Eg, who was doing really well in the mountains. So we tried to attack where it was possible, and I tried a few times, but the other guys, they were just too strong to get rid of.
Then on the back of this good season you had, you went to Trek Segafredo, where you are now. What was it like going from Conti to World Tour?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it's always a big change, and you're always a bit starstruck because everything is so much bigger. Your teammates are suddenly Bauke and Richie Port, so it's a lot different, but you kind of settle into it and find your own rhythm, and you also need to learn how everything works. So hopefully now I've got a lot of experience in how to manage all these things, and it will start to pay off.
How do you kind of improve your climbing? Because being from Denmark, we don't have any mountains, but how do you improve, get better at longer climbs? Is there
it's just about climbing for longer periods of time, and especially here in Giro, we got the opportunity to go for long climbs, and I'll always try and put some climbing in during my weekly training, and trying to improve on my climbing, because in the end that's where my talent is.
Would you just hit the climb as hard as possible, or would there be some kind of, you try and do 80% of your maximum power, or do you just do hill reps until you can't walk, basically?
It's more like controlled efforts, and my coach is always giving me efforts where maybe I have to go at 80% capacity, and then for every 3 minutes we go over for 30 seconds to kind of push the limits a little bit. So it's kind of controlled, but yeah, not always. And sometimes you just like to go hard up the climb, because in the end, that's also what you do in the races.
So that year you did your first Giro d'Italia. What was that like? And that started in Israel, so that must have been quite an experience.
That was quite an experience. I wish I had more time to get the full experience of Israel, but it was quite hectic, and we were only there for a few days, so it was pretty full on. But the Giro was a really big experience, and looking back now, I feel now that I'm a lot wiser, and I could have performed a lot better, but back then I was just super green, and yeah, so it ended up becoming a pretty long 3 weeks. The last week was really hard for me, and I was probably a little bit fried after that for the rest of the season, because I was not paying attention to all the details.
So what would you do different if you did it again now?
For sure, I would be able to save energy on some of the stages, but also just making sure to eat enough during the races and stuff like this, because it's 3 weeks of racing, and it's a lot of eating to do. And yeah, and if you save some energy during some of the stages, you might be able to go on the attack the day after. But I was just racing flat out for 3 weeks, and not trying to recover on some of the days.
What was it like on Mont Saint-Celon?
That was a pretty hard day. I still remember some of the values that power-wise that I had to do for the whole stage, and it was, for my weight, it was quite a lot. And when I think about how much Froome and those guys they had to produce, I'm really impressed by their performance.
Is it the hardest climb you've done so far?
I think it's one of the hardest climbs. Yeah, it felt like it was going on for forever.
What was it like in the peloton with the whole Froome comeback story?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, because you don't really realize when you're in the race, and some of the stages afterwards, I even had to look up the highlights just to see what was going on in front, because I was so far behind. And when we finished the stage where he took back the lead, and we finished the finish line, and we were told that Froome he was in the lead now, and we knew already before how that he was maybe 4 or 5 minutes down on the lead, so it was really impressive, and it's one of the stages that I will remember, for a really long time, even if I wasn't in it, because the performance was heroic, or for sure it will go over in history, and just to be a part of it is quite fun.
So you also you did a few American races, the Tour of Utah and Tour of Colorado. What's it like racing in the US compared to Europe?
It's different. Actually, first of all, I would say that I really enjoyed it. The racing is well organized and it's super nice, but you're always racing at altitude, and coming from Europe, it's really hard. It's you definitely feel that your breathing and the power values is far from what you're producing at sea level in Europe. It was a bit of a shock to the system if you're not prepared for altitude. Yeah, I really like the races, and this is also races that I would like to do again in the future.
You did well in the Tour of Utah. You came 5th overall.
Yeah, last year I did quite well, and but then I also prepared a lot better coming early.
Wrong year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got right.
Yeah, last year was quite nice because I also arrived early in Utah and was a little bit used to the altitude and the heat, so it's a little bit easier. So next step is try to get the podium in Utah.
You also did the Vuelta in 2019. How did that experience compare to your Giro?
It was a lot better. Still, I was a bit naive about going full gas for 3 weeks, and I probably should save more energy on some of the stages to go in the breakaway the day after. So in the end, I was pretty tired, but overall, I think my performance was a lot better. And some of the days that I was in a break, I was able to do some good work for Brambilla, for instance, and also some of the other stages. I was working well for some of the other guys in the team, and it was an experience that really gave me more motivation for the future, and hopefully I will be able to show that I am getting stronger and wiser in Grand Tour again in the future.
You've also raced 2 monuments, which is quite special because, well, I guess Trek Segafredo isn't really Italian, but it has the Italian flair. What was it like doing Il Lombardia?
It's really nice. Just doing the Italian races at the end of the year is super nice. You're obviously a little bit tired, but you always manage to squeeze out the last bit of energy, and having a guy like Bauer who's always super motivated and he's going really well at the end of the year normally is a good motivation. And so last year Bauer he was flying, and it was a really great few days, and him topping it off with a win in Lombardia was really good to see, and he deserves it so much. And yeah, it was a really nice day to be a part of. And yeah, in general, racing in Italy is a big experience, and because the fans is so passionate about the sport, and there's so many people out on the road. And if you do Modi Somano, it's crowded, and you cannot even think because the crowds are so yelling so loud.
So with the season being now truncated into 2.5 months, have you kind of set your sights on any targets for the revised calendar?
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit different this year with the coronavirus and the season split into 2. So I think now we're just trying to get ready for the second part. And so yeah, normally the plan is just to go full gas from the beginning. And I think every team and every rider is trying to be on top form from August the 1st, so it's going to be full gas racing, and I think it will be quite exciting to see how it all pans out, and for sure the racing will be fast and furious.
What would be your ideal race calendar for you in the big races?
I would like to do a Grand Tour again this year, and I think I got a lot of improvement to do in a Grand Tour, and hopefully with the experience that I got the last few years, I'll be more prepared, and hopefully I will last for the whole 3 weeks.
So being Danish, looking at 2021, the Tour de France starts in Denmark. Is that something you've set your sights on?
Yeah, so the tour starting in Denmark is a really big objective for all Danish guys, and for sure I would like to be there as well. And there's still some time to improve and learn. So hopefully I will get stronger and stronger. So yeah, for sure I would like to be there. It's really doing the tour in Denmark would be some of the biggest you could do in for a Danish rider.
What's it like being part of this golden generation of Danish cycling? There's 22 of you on the world tour. There's the track cycling team that are basically going to win everything for the next few years, hopefully. So what's it been like for you to kind of be part of that?
Yeah, you don't really think about it, but when you do think about it, it's kind of funny because a lot of the riders we've been racing against each other since we were 8-9 years old. So it's kind of funny that a lot of the guys are on the world tour now. So yeah, it's a little bit special, but all the structure about the continental team has been super good, and this is the product of all this now.
Who was kind of your influence or hero when you were growing up, and kind of what got the motivation for cycling, basically?
So actually, it all comes from not a specific rider, but it's always been the top riders on Bjarne Riis's team. And first it was Kalle Sastra and those guys, and then also the Slick brothers, Contador and Cancellara. So it's kind of like just been following his team because it was a Danish team, and he was the manager of it. And so yeah, it's kind of like it was just more or less a team that was my idol.
That's it basically. Thank you very much for a nice interview, Niklas, and I wish you all the best for the revised season.
Thank you.
That's it for this lockdown interview with Niklas Eg. Make sure to check out his social media down in the description down below. And if you're new here, why not subscribe to not miss out on any of our upcoming videos? And why not check out the interview with some of the other Danes on the World Tour in the form of Kasper Petersen of Sunweb, Jonas Vingegaard of Jumbo-Visma, Mathias Norsgaard of Movistar, or Mikkel Honoré of Deceuninck Quickstep. And as always, thank you for watching, and hope to see you again on the Cycling Dane channel.